Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yesterday we discussed the proper method of performing wudu. Now the farad of wudu is that a person, he has to wash the face. Washing the face once, that is farad in wudu. Washing both the hands, including the elbows, that is farad in wudu. Making masa of quarter of the head and washing the feet. These are the farad of wudu. The wudu that we discussed was the sunnat method of performing wudu, of making wudu. But this is the farad of wudu, the minimum that a person has to do when making wudu. So here, after discussing the farad of wudu, he mentions if any of the farad actions are left out or a hair's breadth place is left dry, the wudu will be incomplete. That if a person was doing the farad and he missed out even the amount of one small portion or hair's breadth, then also the person's wudu will be incomplete. If the four parts become soaked in the rain or have been washed by swimming or taking a bath, then wudu will be valid even if one had no intention of wudu. So if a person was walking to the masjid and it was raining and the face got washed in the rain, the hands were wet now in the rain, including the elbows, the head got wet and the feet got wet, finish, his wudu is done. Even though he didn't have a niyat, because in the Hanafi madhab, we don't need a niyat. Only in the Shafi madhab, the niyat is a requirement. In the Hanafi madhab, we make niyat in order to get the thawab. See, while making wudu, the eyes should not be closed so tightly that the water is prevented from moistening the eyelashes or blocking the entry of the water into the eye wells. So we should allow water to enter into the eye wells, the eyelashes, all this should become wet in wudu as well. To do so is makruh at-tahrimi, meaning to close it so tight that water cannot get through. This is makruh at-tahrimi. If even one eyelash remains dry or water has not entered the eye wells, the wudu will be incomplete. D. Wudu will not be valid if any substance which does not allow water to seep through sticks on any of the four parts that are fard to be washed. Meaning that, for example, like gum or paint or Q-Tex, whatever it might be, or Tipex. Sometimes it happens also a person is working with Tipex and now the Tipex came onto the hand of a person. So the hand now, the palm, etc., all this is fard. It has to be washed in wudu. Now, if this is going to prevent water from reaching the skin, the wudu of a person will become invalid. If after making wudu, or the wudu of a person will not be complete rather, if after making wudu one realizes that any part was covered, then he should remove the object and wash that part. Now after a person, sometimes it happens, a person made wudu, he didn't even realize, and he went and he performed salah thereafter. After performing salah, now he's sitting, he sees, oh, there's tipex on my hand. So a person has to now scrape it off. He has to go back and only he has to wash that part. It's not necessary to repeat the whole wudu again. And in this instant, because he had performed salah, the salah also has to be repeated. If he hadn't yet performed salah, after wudu he realized, oh, there's some tipex here. So he just has to scrape that off and just wash that particular area and he can continue. There is no need to repeat the wudu. E. During wudu, one doubts whether a certain portion was washed or not. Right? Sometimes it happens, a person, whilst making wudu, he has a doubt. Have I washed my hand or haven't I washed my hand? In this case, that particular part should be washed. Right? If whilst you are making wudu, the doubt comes, and did I wash it or didn't I wash it? Now just wash that particular part in wudu. But if a person completed the wudu, and now after wudu, he's now already perhaps coming to the masjid, he's already started his salah, now he starts doubting that did I wash my hand or didn't I wash my hand? Now ignore the thought. Don't worry about the thought now. Now you don't have to go back and wash your hand. But in wudu, a person should wash it. That's what he says. However, if such doubt occurs after the completion of wudu, then the wudu will be complete. No notice should be taken of the doubt. If after wudu one remembers that a certain part was not washed or masa was not made, we're not talking of doubt anymore. We said now he remembers with certainty that a certain part was not washed or masa was not made, then the limb should be washed or masa should be made. There is no need to repeat the wudu. So simple, anytime a person, he misses out a particular part and later on he remembers, he just has to go and wash that particular part. He doesn't have to repeat the wudu all over again. If one passes wind whilst making wudu, one should recommence the wudu. If a person passes wind, you cannot continue from that point. You have to go back to start and do the entire wudu all over again. Discharging of urine, stool, or the coming out of anything from the private parts like madhi will break the wudu of a person. These are the breakers of wudu. So if even a drop of urine is to come out, one person, he sent an email about few days back, and he said he went for his prostate, and he says that sometime urine just leaks out. There's no control left anymore. Initially, for a certain period of time, there's no control. So he said sometimes urine leaks out. So he says that how much of urine has to come out for my wudu to become invalid. So it's just even a single drop has to come out. Then the wudu of a person becomes invalid. Or for example, precoital fluid. Precoital fluid is that liquid where a person, he is aroused. And the liquid that emits at that time, that is called precoital fluid. And when a person has relations with his wife, that is called semen. So the precoital fluid, that doesn't invalidate the ghusl of a person. But the wudu of a person becomes invalid. For example, a person is casting a lustful glance, or he's looking at his wife, or whatever it might be. And at that time, the liquid that comes off, that invalidates the wudu of a person. A person has to wash himself and make wudu again. Number 2, discharging of gases. Number 3, vomiting in mouthful. If one vomits phlegm, then wudu doesn't break. If it's just phlegm that a person vomited, no problem, your wudu is still intact. But if it's from the stomach, the food that came out from the stomach, that will invalidate the wudu of a person. Number 4, to fall asleep lying down or by resting the body against something and sleeping so soundly that if the support were taken away, one would fall down. Like for example, a person is leaning now against the wall. He is completely against the wall and he has fallen asleep. So assuming if the wall had to move from there, that person would fall down. So in this case, the wudu of a person will become invalid. If a person is sitting on a chair, so there still the fuqaha say that the wudu of a person will not be invalid if he falls asleep. But if he's like against something that is solid and if it has to be moved, then the wudu of a person will become invalid. Wudu will not break in the following cases. A person sitting down without a support and his body swings to the right and left. So if you sit on a musalla here, a person is sitting. He's able to swing to the right, able to swing to the left. There is no support behind him. He falls off to sleep. Wudu is valid. The wudu of a person doesn't break in this instance. The whole thing is the muscle, the weakening of the muscles of a person. So, say for example, when a person is sitting now, like in tashahhud position or cross-legged, still you got control of your muscles to some extent. So therefore there the wudu does not break. But where a person, where he is lying down and he falls off to sleep, so there's no firmness on the ground. You're not sitting firm on the ground. So you got no control of your muscles. So when you got no control of your muscles, wind can come out at any stage. So there the wudu of a person will become invalid. A person dozes off slightly while sitting down that he can hear what those around him say. Meaning a person is just lying down on his bed, but he's not asleep. He can still hear what people are talking around him, etc. That will not invalidate the wudu of a person. Sleeping in salah, if postures are according to sunnah method, except a woman in sajda. Similarly, if a person is performing salah and he falls off to sleep in salah, that won't invalidate the wudu if it's done according to sunnah. Similarly, if you go into sajda, in sajda, if it is done according to sunnah, how we lift up our hands, etc., and a person fell off to sleep, his wudu will be intact. But a woman, her hands are on the ground in sajda. So if she has to fall off to sleep in the sajda position, her wudu will become invalid. We'll do one more. To faint due to some illness or any other reason. The moment a person faints, finished, the wudu of a person comes to an end because he's got no control left any longer of all his muscles.
Not two questions. So say somebody is performing the wudu and then you make your masa and then you continue with your legs and then you realize maybe your masa wasn't right. Then
if somebody is making wudu
and then they make the masa and then and then they washing their legs now and then they realize maybe the masa wasn't right. Do they go back to making the masa?
That will be better so that they follow the sequence.
Okay, and then secondly, like if you're washing your legs, it's 3 times, but now it's water streaming down. So what would be considered 3 times?
So basically, if you rub 3 times, you go through this You go through the rubbing process of the leg, the entire leg one time, second time, third time, that will be considered as 3 times. The actual thing in wudu is rubbing, not pouring the water over any limb. So even if the water is on the hand, it must be rubbed on the hand, on the face, on the feet, etc. The next chapter is on the times of Salah. But in our country normally, this is not applicable to us because the times are fixed in all the masajid. But there is certain laws. If for example the times are not fixed, then at which time of the year you must read your Zohar earlier, when you must read later, when should you read your Asr early, when should you read your Asr late, etc. So this is not really applicable to us, so we won't go through this section, we'll just continue further. He says, जो कोई तहज्जुद की नमाज पिछली रात को उठकर पढ़ा करती हो, तो अगर पक्का भरोसा हो कि आंख जरूर खुलेगी, तो इसको वितर की नमाज तहज्जुद के बाद पढ़ना बेहतर है. He says, if any person has full confidence that the eyes will open, they will wake up in the last portion of the night and they will read the tahajjud namaz. For this person, it is better to delay the witr salah to after the tahajjud namaz. This is the sunnat of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that first Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to read the tahajjud namaz, and after the tahajjud namaz, then he used to perform the witr salah. So if anyone is certain that I'll wake up for tahajjud, I'll read my tahajjud maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, then he can delay his witr salah to that part of the morning. But generally, we are not 100% sure. Sometimes we might wake up, sometimes we might oversleep. So it's safer for us, we read our witr salah first, and then a person goes to sleep. If he wakes up for tahajjud, then he can read his tahajjud namaz. Lekin agar aankh khulne ka i'tibar na ho, see, if a person is not sure that he's going to wake up or not, or so jane ka dar ho, and there's fear that I'm going to sleep, I'm going to oversleep, to Isha ke baad sone se pehle hi par lena chahiye. Then after Isha, before going to sleep, first we read our witr salah. Sunnat namaz also, a person can go to his home and read. There should be some namaz that we read in our home. Even if it's 2 rakat ishraq namaz that we read, or chash namaz that we read, or awabin, or whatever namaz. But 2 rakats at least we should reserve for our home as well. So the rahmat of Allah, the barakat, this also comes into the home of a person. But sometimes we could say that let me go read my sunnats at home after Isha namaz or after Maghrib. But sometimes we are not certain. We might leave the masjid, we'll talk to somebody here outside. Or we'll go home and we'll get caught up in some work. And now that sunnat namaz will get left out. So that's why for us, it's safer, we must read all our sunnats, our nawafil in the masjid. And then some extra if you want, we can perform that at home. बदली के दिन फजर और जोहर और मगरिब की नमाज ज़रा देर करके पढ़ना बेहतर है. Here is talking about the times of namaz, that when it is cloudy, then the fajr, zohar and maghrib namaz should be delayed a little bit, just so that you are sure that the time of salah has already come in, the time of salah has entered. But as I said, here in our country it is all stipulated, so it doesn't matter. और असर की नमाज में जल्दी करना मुस्तहब है. असर नमाज you must read a little early, so you don't go into the makruh time. So you read asr a little earlier. सूरज निकलते वक्त और ठीक दोपहर को और सूरज डूबते वक्त कोई नमाज सही नहीं है. He says that at the time when the sun rises, and at the time of zawal, and at the time of sunset, no namaz of a person is correct at that time. These 3 times a person, he shouldn't perform any namaz whatsoever. The time when the sun rises, the worshippers of the sun, they worship the sun at that time. That is why we shouldn't be similar to them. Similarly at the time of sunset. So these are times that we cannot perform salah. Albatta asar ki namaz agar abhi na parhi ho, to wo suraj doobte waqt bhi par le. And if a person hasn't read asar namaz, but the sun is now setting, so even your current asr of that day, at that time also quickly, there's still a few minutes left, you will still read your asr namaz of that particular day. Or in tino waqt sajda tilawat bhi makruh or mana hai. In these 3 times, the time from sunrise for about 15 minutes, at the time of zawal, which is approximately 5-7 minutes, zawal time, and at the time of sunset, the last about 15 minutes before sunset. Sajda tilawat also we can't make. After fajr you can make sajda tilawat. After asr also you can make. But the 15-20 minutes before sunset, don't make sajda tilawat. After sunrise, don't make sajda tilawat. And at the time of zawal, don't make sajda tilawat. फजर के नमाज पढ़ लेने के बाद जब तक सूरज निकल के ऊंचा न हो जाए, नफिल नमाज पढ़ना मकरूह है. After fajr namaz, that as long as the sun hasn't risen and become a little high, which we're talking about the 15 minutes after sunrise. So a person shouldn't read any nafil namaz, it's makruh, because after Fajr you cannot read nafil namaz. Similarly, once the sun rises for that 15 minutes, you cannot read any nafil namaz. Albatta, suraj nikalne se pehle, qaza namaz parna durus hai. But before the sun rises, it is correct for a person to read qaza namaz. That meaning after Fajr namaz, if a person wants to read qaza namaz, he can read qaza namaz at that time. Shariat has given him that concession. Similarly, after Asr, we can't read nafil. But qaza namaz, a person can read, because we don't know how long we're going to live. So the namaz that we miss in our life, this is a debt which we owe to Allah Ta'ala. So at that time, a person, he must read his qaza namaz as well. But missing our namaz, that's a guna, that was a sin we done. That was a wrong. So a person shouldn't read openly in the masjid. Now after Asr, somebody is reading namaz in one corner here. So anybody that comes in, he'll say, what namaz this man is reading? That means he's reading qaza namaz. So we're advertising the sin that we had carried out. So that is wrong. So say for example, now a person is in i'tikaf and he wants to read his qaza namaz after Asr, no problem. Inside your tent, nobody can really see you. So there you read your qaza namaz. Or normal times, at home a person can read his qaza namaz, or one particular area like is a top floor of the masjid and nobody comes there. Go on top, read your namaz over there, nobody will see you. There a person can read his qaza namaz. जी अलबत्ता सूरज निकलने से पहले कज़ा नमाज पढ़ना दुरुस्त है और सजदा तिलावत भी दुरुस्त है. आफ्टर फजर यू कैन मेक सजदा तिलावत आल्सो, नो प्रॉब्लम. और जब सूरज निकल आया तो जब तक जरा रोशनी ना आ जाए कज़ा नमाज भी दुरुस्त नहीं. But the moment the sun rose, then for the approximately 10 to 15 minutes, you cannot even read qaza namaz in that time. No namaz at that time whatsoever. ऐसे ही असर की नमाज पढ़ लेने के बाद नफिल नमाज पढ़ना जायज़ नहीं. Similarly, after asr there is no nafil. अलबत्ता क़ज़ा और सजदा की आयत का सजदा दुरुस्त है. However, qaza, and if a person read the verse of sajda to make the sajda, that is correct. लेकिन जब डूब फीकी पड़ जाए तो यह भी दुरुस्त नहीं. But now when the sun changes color, it becomes a little dull now, just before the time of sunset, then at that time there's no qaza namaz also. A person must not make sajda also. Nothing should be done at this time. One last masla will do. Fajr के वक्त सूरज निकल आने के डर से जल्दी के मारे फकत फर्ज पढ़ लिए. तो अब जब तक सूरज ऊंचा और रोशन न हो जाए तब तक सुन्नत न पढ़े. If a person, he was coming for Fajr namaz. So when he came into the masjid, maybe the imam was now sitting in at-tahiyyat, almost close to making salam. But he still hasn't read the sunnat salah. So quickly now, just so that he doesn't miss his jamaat, he quickly catches the jamaat and he joins the jamaat. But he missed his sunnat salah. And the two sunnats of Fajr, this is extremely valuable. In one hadith it comes that these two sunnats of Fajr, khayrum min ad-dunya wa ma fiha. It is better than the world and whatever the world contains. That is how valuable. That is why normally a person that is undertaking a journey, it will come in the section of Musafir, but it's very far. I don't think we'll do it this year. Maybe inshallah next year if Allah Ta'ala gives us tawfiq. If a person is undertaking a journey, then whilst traveling, if a person is rushing maybe to get from point A to point B, maybe he got a meeting in Durban. So he has to be in Durban maybe at 1 o'clock. So now he wants to, on the way he wants to stop somewhere and just read his Zohar Salah. But he has to get his meeting at 1. So there a person, if he is traveling more than Safar distance, Durban is not Safar distance, let's say a little more than Durban, let's say he's going to Stanger, he's going Safar distance. So then he doesn't have to read the Sunnat can fall away. Because he has to get a meeting, he's rushing. But if a person has ample time, he's got a meeting at 4 o'clock and he's now leaving from here to go to Stanger for that meeting of his, he's got sufficient time to reach his destination. Now he's reading his Zohar Salah in Durban, he's already Musafir. The moment he left Marysville, he's already Musafir. He should read his sunnat namaz as well, because he's got ample time. The sunnats fall away when a person doesn't have sufficient time and he has to reach his destination. Many people think, no, when you musafir, you mustn't read sunnats. No such thing. You must read sunnats. The only time you miss out the sunnat is if a person is rushing to reach his destination. But the sunnat of Fajr, even if you're rushing to get to your destination, the sunnat of Fajr shouldn't be missed, because this is so valuable. خَيْرٌ مِّنَ الدُّنْيَا وَمَا فِيهَا. And in another hadith, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned that the sunnat of Fajr is so valuable that if you on the battlefield and وَلَوْ تَرَدَّتْكُمُ الْخَيْلِ, if the horses have to trample upon you and you lose your life because you are reading the sunnat of Fajr, then also no problem, read your sunnat of Fajr, lose your life, but don't miss the sunnat of Fajr. So the sunnat of Fajr a person shouldn't miss. And if a person missed the sunnat of Fajr, this is what he's explaining further in this masla, that if a person missed the two sunnats of Fajr, then after sunrise, a person can read the sunnat right up to the time of Zawal. He must make the sunnat namaz right up to the time of Zawal. And if a person, Allah Ta'ala save us, if a person, he overslept like we did yesterday, if a person in error, he was so deep sleep that he didn't even hear the alarm, somebody woke him up, he didn't even hear. So that person has to make qaza. So if he's making that qaza right up to the time of Zawal, then a person must read the two sunnat first, and then he will read the two faras. First the two sunnat and then the two faras. But if he is making qaza of the Fajr Salah after Zawal time, then the sunnat will drop away. Now a person will only read the faraz namaz. And the same applies to the Zohar Salah also. The four sunnat before Zohar, which is a sunnat mu'akkada, this is a emphasized sunnat. So if a person came late and he joined the Jamaat, then after the Zohar Salah we'll read two sunnat first. And then a person should read the four sunnat that he missed before Zohar Salah. The four sunnat, he should read that. And then a person must make his 2 rakat nafil namaz. जब तक सूरज ऊंचा और रोशन न हो जाए तब तक सुन्नत न पढ़े. So after Fajr, as long as that 15 minutes hasn't passed, a person shouldn't read sunnat. जब जरा रोशनी आ जाए तब सुन्नत वगैरह जो नमाज चाहे पढ़े. And then now, when the sun has risen a little bit and it has become bright, then a person can read the sunnat of Fajr that was missed out, or whichever other namaz he wants to read. Now it is permissible for him to read that namaz. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yesterday we had discussed very basic, very briefly in regards to what is the objective of tasawwuf, what is the objective of zikr of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, what is the purpose of all this. And he mentioned that from all the various acts of ita'at and the obedience of Allah Ta'ala, most important is the namaz of a person. And then all the fazail, the virtues that have been mentioned in the hadith, that is on a salah, that is a perfect salah in which there is concentration, in which there is devotion. That the fazail is for that particular person, that reads salah with concentration, with devotion, whose salah has life. And similarly, if a person, he wants salah to have an effect on his life, he wants to give up gunas, he wants to give up sins, etc., he must perform that salah that has life in it. When there's life in it, that salah will have an effect on his life. He'll give up gunas, he'll give up sins. So further he says that what type of a salah is that? He said, Jisme ihsan ki kayfiyat ka manzar ho, in which there is the quality of ihsan. Another word for tasawwuf is also ihsan. What is ihsan? Ihsan is an ta'bud Allah ka'annaka tarah. You make the ibadah of Allah Ta'ala as though you can see Allah Ta'ala in front of you. Allah Ta'ala doesn't have a form like how we have. So a person, Allah Ta'ala doesn't have a physical body, but it is as though. That's why the hadith says ka'annaka, as though, because in reality a person cannot see Allah Ta'ala. So as though you can see Allah Ta'ala in front of you. فَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَى فَإِنَّهُ يَرَى. And if you can't see Allah Ta'ala, Allah is watching you every moment. So if a person has this in mind, that I am seeing Allah, or if he can't come to that level, Allah is watching me. Now what a perfect salah is going to read. Like for example, a person is working for the boss. So the boss is in the business. When the boss is there, how hard he works in front of the boss, because he has to show the boss that I'm working here. I'm not wasting time over here. So the boss is happy. But if the boss says, right, he's going 1 week holiday, and the manager, you just see to the business. Now see, everyone is relaxed now. Why? Because they know the boss is not there. Manager is just like them also. But so see the difference. So when a person is conscious, Allah is watching me. Allah is the king of all kings. And Allah is watching me every moment of my life. Allah is watching me in the salah. Now because of that, a person will perform a perfect salah. That salah will have concentration. That salah will have devotion in it. और ग़फ़रत वाली नमाज के लिए कुरान व हदीस में सख्त वईद आई है. And to read a salah of negligence, where a person is not concentrating in salah, for that leaves sawab. There are warnings that have been mentioned in the Quran and Hadith for such salah. So imagine a person is reading namaz, but by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, he is answerable. There are warnings for that type of salah. So how important it is that our salah has to be in order. Man is making effort, he leaves his home, he takes out his car, he comes to the masjid, he's performing salah. But if the salah is not made properly, in the manner it's supposed to be made, then there's warnings for us that you haven't made a proper salah. So all that effort down the drain. So how particular we should be. Quran Pak mein irshad hai, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran Sharif that certainly the believers are successful. Which believers are successful? Allah Ta'ala mentioned a number of qualities. One quality, الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Those that have khushu' in their salah. Those that have that khushu' in their salah, they have that connection with Allah Ta'ala. There's two terms. One is what we call khushu' and the other one is khudu. Khushu' is the internal connection, where the heart of a person is connected to Allah Ta'ala when a person is in salah. That is what we call khushu'. And the second one is khudu. Khudu actually literally you translate as humbleness. So what khudu actually means, all the various postures of salah, this also must be done correctly. The ruku, there's a particular way we should try and bend. And for example, the back must be totally straight and the head must be in line with the back. So the ruku must be done properly. When a person is going in sajda, we don't bend and go in sajda. You come straight down. When the legs touch, when the knees come onto the ground, now a person goes forward and he goes into sajda. Similarly, when we're coming up now from sajda, person comes up straight and then a person gets up. Not halfway and then he starts getting up. A person has, obviously for those that are young we're talking about, the elderly people, they are excused. So a person, he must come up straight and then he wakes up straight for salah. How a person ties his hand, that must be below the navel. And these three fingers, they must be on the hand here, on the forehead, forehead? On the forehead. And with the thumb and the baby finger, you make like a ring. You make a ring and this should be below the navel, and this is how a person performs salah. For the Shafi people, they above the navel, but we are below the navel. So there is a procedure, there is a way how we should try and perform our salah. If Allah gives us the tawfiq, inshallah, then in the end we'll try and do the practical salah, so we can also learn how salah is performed correctly. So that is what is referred to as khudu. So khushu is the internal connection with Allah Ta'ala, and khudu is all the postures of salah. This should also be corrected. Hazrat Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala फरमाते हैं, एक मर्तबा हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने आसमान की तरफ निगाह उठाई. Hazrat Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala says, once Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he lifted his gaze towards the heavens. और ये इरशाद फरमाया कि इस वक्त इल्म के दुनिया से उठ जाने का वक्त मुनकशिफ हुआ है. He said at this time, he says that the time has come when knowledge is going to be taken away from the world. That there is not going to be knowledge in the world. Hazrat Ziyad radiallahu anhu sahabi ने अर्ज किया, या रसूल अल्लाह, इल्म हमसे किस तरह उठ जाएगा? So Hazrat Ziyad radiallahu anhu was a sahabi. He asked Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, how is knowledge going to be taken away from us? You saying knowledge is going to be taken away, the time has come. How is it going to be taken away? Today, we are more than 1400 years away from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 1433. Knowledge is still with us in our understanding. So how is it that knowledge is going to be taken away? Whereas Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying in his time that knowledge is going to be taken away. हम लोग कुरान शरीफ पढ़ते हैं और अपने औलाद को पढ़ाते हैं. We learn Quran. And this Quran, we teach our children also. So our children will learn Quran. And they'll teach their children. So knowledge is going to remain with us. How is knowledge going to be taken away? और वो इसी तरह अपने औलाद को पढ़ाएगा और सिलसिला चलता रहेगा. This will continue. हुज़ूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने फरमाया, मैं तो तुझे बहुत समझदार ख्याल करता था. नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम said, Oh Ziyad, I thought you very intelligent. I thought you're an intelligent person. How could you ask such a question? ये यहूद व नसारा भी तो तौरात व इंजील पढ़ते पढ़ाते हैं. These Jews, the Christians, they read these scriptures as well. The Taurat, the Injil, they read this also. फिर क्या कार आमद हुआ? Then what was of benefit to them in the end? Nothing remained with them also. Today also, deen is with us. Today, the deen is with us. But the reality of deen is missing. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Sayati ala nasi zaman," that a time is going to come upon the people. La yabqa min al-Quran illa la yabqa min al-Islam illa ismuhu. Nothing will remain of Islam except the name of Islam. Wala min al-Quran illa rasmuhu. Nothing will remain from the Quran except the wordings of the Quran. The reality of Quran won't be in a person. The reality of Islam won't be in a person. Today a person, he's doing qurbani. He's doing qurbani. It's just a matter. We take the money, give it to a certain institute, give it to a certain individual. You cut my animal for me. Is that qurbani? That is not qurbani. The qurbani is valid. You absolve of your responsibility in terms of Sharia. Ask any Mufti Saheb. He'll tell you it's done. Qurbani is done. You're not guilty in the court of Allah Ta'ala. But actual qurbani is, you're supposed to go yourself. You take your animal. You slaughter your own animal. That is the reality of qurbani. Shaykhul Hind Rahmatullah alayh, he used to buy his animal 1 year in advance. 1 year he used to buy his animal. And he used to go to teach in a madrasa. That goat used to go with him madrasa. When he comes back home from Darul Uloom Deoband, he used to go home. The goat used to go home with him. We can't go to that extent. We're living in town. But we just for us to understand what is the reality of qurbani. They understood it. So he used to go back home with him. And when it was few days before qurbani, he used to buy jalebi. And jalebi is so expensive. He used to feed the qurbani animal jalebi. And then on the day of Qurbani, that animal you're so attached to, and now you have to slaughter that animal. Do you think it's easy? It is painful, it is difficult. Children, they have the cat by the house. How they love their cats and they play with the cats. And if that cat has to die, finish, that's the end of the story. Once we had the cat by the house, and the cat was troubling also, so we said, let's give it away to the SPCA. My children actually, they cried. They cried so much that we left the cat in the SPCA. They say, go and bring the cat back from there. And then we tell them, by now it must be dead. They say, no, it's still there, don't worry, go and bring the cat back. So exactly, imagine now when you attach and then you have to slaughter. That is the reality of Qurban. It's difficult on the heart. Ibrahim al-Islam, what it must have been for him to put the knife on the throat of his son and slaughter his son, how difficult that must have been. But he went through that test. For us, it is putting the knife on the throat of that animal. Similarly, zakat. What is the reality? Today we're giving zakat just to institutes. We're just giving it away to institutes. And the zakat is staying in their account. We don't even know when they discharging the zakat. If a person, his zakat date, every person has a different zakat date. But let's say somebody's zakat date is the 1st of Ramadan. 1st of Ramadan, he took out his zakat. He took it, he deposited into the institute's account. They got millions in their account. So the money came into their account. Now the next zakat date came, the next Ramadan came. And that institute hasn't discharged your zakat. Makruh. It is makruh. Your zakat is supposed to have been discharged before the next Ramadan comes in. So the reality of zakat is we're supposed to go to the home of the poor person. You go there and give the poor man, give him, this is your due. Here, you use it. Or if a student, he's studying in a madrasa, he's zakatable, he doesn't have money for fees, clothes, kitabs, whatever. No problem, help the student. As long as he's eligible for zakat, go to him. Here, there's your money. Take it, go and pay. Obviously, sometimes there are certain instances where like people have no control of funds. You giving them money to pay rent, they're going and they're parking somewhere else. So in that instance also there is a way out where they, for example, we don't go into all those details, but there is a way out. If anybody wants to know, we'll explain it to them. So there's a way out where we can pay for them, but obviously there's a certain procedure they have to go through. If they go through the procedure, then it is fine. So see, that is the reality of deen. And one is just we're doing it for the sake of doing it. Because we have to do it, we're doing it. So exactly the same way, salah also will become such where the reality of salah will not remain with us. We are performing salah, but where is the reality of salah? So he said, Abu Darda radiallahu anhu ke shagir kehte hai, the student of Abu Darda radiallahu anhu says, मैंने दूसरे सहाबी हज़रत उबादा रदियल्लाहु तआला से जाकर यह किस्सा सुनाया. He says that I went to Hazrat Ubadah radiallahu ta'ala and I narrated the story to him. इन्होंने फरमाया Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala सच कहते हैं. The student of Abu Darda said that Hazrat Ubadah radiallahu ta'ala said that Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala is speaking the truth. That knowledge is going to be taken away. और मैं बताऊं कि सबसे पहले क्या चीज दुनिया से उठेगी. Should I tell you what's the first thing Allah Ta'ala will take away from this dunya? He said, सबसे पहले नमाज का खुशू उठ जाएगा. The first thing is concentration in salah. People won't be able to concentrate in salah. The mind will go everywhere else in salah except salah. Everywhere. His business will be there, his sport will be there, his holiday will be there, his business will be there, but namaz wouldn't be there. Everything is going to be there in salah. तो देखे कि बड़ी मस्जिद में तो देखेगा कि बड़ी मस्जिद में एक शख्स भी खुशू से नमाज पढ़ने वाला न होगा. The masjid will be full to capacity. Jummah time, our whole masjid is full. But there won't be one person that is performing salah with concentration. Although the ulama have made it very easy for us. Hazrat Mandi rahmatullahi said, even if you think of Allah Ta'ala once in namaz, even once, then that is also that is also considered as a salah of khushu. That at least once, but that's a very, very low, minimal stage. Minimal. And some said that in every posture of namaz, when you're standing, that's one posture. Think of Allah once at least. When you go into ruku, think of Allah once. When you go into sajda, think of Allah once. So if a person does that, that is the namaz of concentration. And a person, sometimes thought is going to come in salah. But we shouldn't get frightened. A person, when the thought comes, sometimes the mind just went away. I have to go and buy this after namaz. But the moment you become conscious, hey, I'm in namaz, where am I thinking about the supermarket? So immediately bring your thought back into namaz. If you bring your thought back into namaz, that is a salah of khushu. That is like a little child, the mother takes the child and goes shopping. So when you go into the supermarket or into the mall or wherever, there's a toy shop. So what the child will run there. Or he'll go to that particular aisle. So the mother catches the child's hand, brings it back. So again, after a little while, he gets a child. Again, he wants to run away. Again, the mother catches the child's hand. Give the child 1-2 shots. Come on, let's carry on. In this way, the mother goes with the child. Exactly the same way. These thoughts come from where? From shaitan. So shaitan wants to take us away from Allah Ta'ala. The moment we become conscious, again, bring your thought back into namaz. Again, shaitan will pull you. Again, bring your thought back into namaz. If a person continues like this, inshallah, his salah is a salah of concentration. Hazrat Huzaifa radiallahu ta'ala, जो हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम का राजदार कहलाते हैं, वो भी फरमाते हैं. Hazrat Huzaifa radiallahu ta'ala, he was that person that had the secrets of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave him the list of all those people that are munafiqeen, that these people are munafiqeen. So he had the list of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he knew the secrets of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says कि सबसे पहले नमाज का खुशू उठाया जाएगा. That first, this concentration of namaz, Allah will take it away from the ummah. There won't be concentration. We know what is our reality. Every person, myself also, that is why we're doing this, because we want to bring that concentration in our namaz. Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala se kisi ne pucha कि खुशू क्या चीज़ है? Somebody asked Ali radiallahu ta'ala, he said, what is this concentration in namaz? What is खुशू in namaz? फरमाया कि खुशू दिल में होता है. He said, this is in the heart of a person. The heart must be connected there. The heart, if it's connected to Allah Ta'ala, that is concentration in namaz. Hazrat Qatada radiallahu ta'ala कहते हैं कि दिल का खुशू अल्लाह ताला का खौफ है. Hazrat Qatada radiallahu ta'ala said that the khushu of the heart, the khushu, that is the fear of Allah. और निगाह को नीचे रखना. And the gaze of a person must be kept down. Not that a person is in namaz and he's looking around. No. You must keep your gaze in one particular area. And that is at the place of sajda. Where I'm going to be making sajda, the gaze of a person should be there. हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने एक मर्तबा एक शख्स को देखा कि नमाज में दाढ़ी पर हाथ फेर रहा है. Once Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw one sahabi, he's reading namaz, he's playing with the beard. His hand is on the beard, so he's playing with the beard. इरशाद फरमाया अगर इसके दिल में खुशू होता तो बदन के सारे आदा में सुकून होता. He said that if this man had concentration, khushu in namaz, all the limbs of the body would have been at ease. Person, he leaves his home, he's coming masjid, no scratch, no way it's scratching. He comes into the masjid, after namaz also, he's going, no way his body will scratch. In namaz, all the scratching is going to come in namaz. So a person should tell himself at that time, just remind yourself, I'm in namaz. After namaz, I'll scratch as much as I want. Whole day also I'll scratch. But give me these few minutes, let me read my namaz without scratching. And a person in one rukn, in one posture, 3 times or more he scratches. Finish. The namaz becomes invalid. Person has to read namaz again. So a person, he's playing with the limbs of the body. That shows that there is no concentration in salah. Khushu ke muta'alliq aage is, that is why we must only make dua, Allah, through your kindness you accept our ibadat. Really, what can be present before Allah Ta'ala? Where can be present? Our tilawat, our namaz, our zakat, our fasting, full of faults. But Allah is most kind. As long as a person, he says that my namaz is not right, my fasting is not right, my zakat is not right, nothing is right, I'm just trying, Ya Allah, through your kindness, that Allah loves that. Allah loves that. Allah will accept that. But the moment you read a namaz and you say, today I read a namaz, finish, you failed, you lost. Masaa'il rahmatullahi said that when you read a namaz and after that, a person now pride comes into him. He thinks, I read a perfect namaz today. That person has fallen in the gaze of Allah. But as long as the fear is there, that I haven't fulfilled the right of that ibadah, there's hope, inshallah, Allah Ta'ala will accept it. खुशू के मुतालिक आगे इस रिसाला में पूरी वदाहत इंशाल्लाह आ रही है. He says regards to khushu, that concentration in namaz, he said in this booklet inshallah all the explanation and details are coming ahead. और ये बात भी कि हकीकी खुशू यानी दिल का खुशू कुछ जिक्र व शुगल करने के बाद ही हासिल होता है. But this concentration, we want concentration in namaz, that is why we're doing this kitab. Now this concentration that we want in namaz, how is it going to come? So he says this will come after doing the exercise of zikr, doing the course on zikrullah. Zikr actually, that is why we make so much of zikr. Here we make minimum 100 times a day, 50 times in the morning, 50 times in the evening. But when a person, he does zikr, this is also very beneficial. For us in this day and age, 100 is enough because of our weakness. But when a person does this 100 times zikr, and he does it properly, with concentration, he mustn't be sleeping in the zikr. When zikr is taking place, don't be sleepy at that time. Do the zikr properly. And he does the zikr over a period of time, 40 days, 4 months. This will now give the person the ability of having concentration. When the ability of concentration will come, now the salah of a person will become a salah of khushu. Now you'll have concentration in your salah. So see, zikr will help you to perform a proper namaz. वरना तो अगर नमाजी के दिल में खुशू न हो और जाहिर में सुकून हो तो हदीस पाक में इस मुनाफिकाना खुशू से पनाह मांगना आया है. He says otherwise, if a person in his heart is not connected to Allah. He's reading namaz, but the heart is not connected to Allah. And outside, when he's reading his namaz, when you look at him from the outside, He's reading a salah of full concentration. This is regarded as khushu, concentration of hypocrisy. Because inside, your heart is somewhere else. And outside, you, as though you are performing a perfect namaz. In the hadith, we taught that seek protection from Allah Ta'ala from such type of concentration. Where the heart is void of concentration, but the way you're reading namaz outside, when people look, they think, oh, this is a namaz of concentration. That is not what is the salah that is required. The heart must be connected. One buzruk was making tawaf of Baytullah. He saw one person, he's holding the khilaf of the Kaaba, and he's crying, and he's crying, and he's making so much of dua to Allah Ta'ala. So the buzruks, Allah Ta'ala, certain things Allah opens up for them, what we call kashf. Allah opens up. So Allah opened up to him, he just looked at him. And he found his heart is void. Allah Ta'ala is not in the heart. He's crying so much outwardly, but the heart is somewhere else altogether. So that crying, what effect is that crying going to have? Then that same buzruk, he went to Mina. It was the days of Hajj, so he went to Mina. When he went to Mina, then in Mina he found one man busy doing business. But he's making zikr. He looked at that person, he saw the heart is connected. That there, although he's in business, outward is in dunya, but the heart is with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So this is the actual thing, that the heart must be connected to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Not that outwardly a person, he's got so much of concentration, so much of devotion, and the heart is not with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. और दूसरी, we'll just finish off here, और दूसरी जगह बेखबरी से नमाज पढ़ने वालों के मुतालिक इरशाद है. And in another place, it is mentioned in regards to those people that perform salah in a state of negligence. They are not concentrating. What is the salah of that person? Unmindfulness. Allah Ta'ala says, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. That woe and destruction. This is a curse. Allah says, woe and destruction for those people that are performing salah. You're reading salah, but Allah Ta'ala's curse is on that person. Destruction for that person. Who are those? الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. Those people that are performing their salah in a state of negligence, unmindfulness. They're just making salah, but just reading namaz to get over it. The heart is not in salah, not connected to Allah Ta'ala. الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُرَاءُونَ. They want to be seen by other people. That is why they are making salah. So that salah doesn't hold any value in the court of Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala give us all tawfiq, inshallah. We'll continue from here.